So while we're waiting for the drifters, I want to give you a second thought regarding conversations. Because they're going to be, for some reason on the fourth day, the drifting becomes slower. It's not drifting, it's dripping, okay? So while we're waiting for all those people that are going to be late come in, I want you to write down the following under this thing on conversations. We can't duplicate our results in prospecting unless we know where our business comes from. Critical thought. We can't duplicate our results regarding prospecting unless we know where our business comes from. Which then leads to the obvious question, do you know where your business comes from? And I think most of you do. Serena, it's interesting. More than a third of the audience left at the break. We're getting down to the hardcore good people. Okay. I mean, almost the entire broker section on this side is half gone. This side is still here, thank you. Okay. Good. That whole segment of the people that bought upfront seats and paid a lot of money, they're all gone. That group is all gone. Holy smoly. Okay, let's finish it right now. Thanks for being here. We still have too many good things to learn. The hardest part of learning to prospect is tracking what you do so you can duplicate it time and time again. And so often, because we get excited when we do prospect and get a good positive result, a lead, an appointment, and a listing, we'll often forget to note how that came about. Because the key to success is duplication. Can you duplicate that result time and time again, which I believe anybody here can do if you pay very close attention to what you actually do. And most people do not pay very close attention to what they do because we get too excited about the result we get. Each day so far, I've had one or two people walk up and say the same thing, and they all say Serena, you're going to love this. They say it like we've never heard it before. I really have a hard time picking up the phone and calling people. Anybody else ever have a hard time? Yeah. Is it a hard time calling people or a hard time getting started? All right, so let's make a note of this, okay? Since the hardest call of the day is the first call, because it generally is the hardest call of the day, the first call. Call somebody that really likes you on the first call, because you're going to get a lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive response. You're going to get a warm reception, okay? If I call Phil and Pam from my database, I know we're always going to have an enjoyable few moments of conversation versus calling a for sale by owner where I'm going to have to fight through some of that resistance. So my belief is to get the morning started, call 2 or 3 people that you're comfortable with, that know you, understand you, that you can have a little bit of a conversation with to get yourself started. So then I want you to write down underneath this thought, most distractions during prospecting are self-imposed. Okay, most of the distractions that happen during prospecting are really self-imposed. Meaning, and this is called normal, you're looking for the distraction. And I hear a little mumbling and rumbling and laughter, okay? You got your iPad over here, people you're calling are here, and you keep glancing to see if by chance an email has come in. Okay, you have a cell phone here, and then you have your phone with your headset on to make your calls, and you keep glancing at your phone to see if somebody is texting you. Those are self-imposed. Or you worked on your files after doing your role play for 30 minutes, which is always stupid. Everybody say why? Why? When you finish your role play, start doing something productive. Don't work on your files. But you did your role play, then you're working on your files, so you set 2 files right here, then you start calling over here, and you glance at the file and said, oh, I should have said this to them, and I got to make a note to make sure I talk to them about that, and that's a self-imposed distraction. Stops everything from happening. But then I want you to write down also, I can't let anybody's response to my prospecting determine my future listing income. I can't let anybody's response to my prospecting determine my future income. And that is what happens most often to us, okay? Somebody is nasty, somebody is not nice, somebody does something. You know, I mean, and sometimes, John, we've seen people get pretty stupid, okay, in how they treat other people. I mean, again, if you guys could hear some of the stories the hotel has to tell us about some of the behaviors that take place, I mean, you'd be going, you've got to be kidding. Well, sometimes people are not very nice, a little irrational, too emotional. And if they are, you call a for sale by owner and they say not nice things to you. So I'm not going to allow something that person out there says to distract me or take me off my schedule. So now let's have some fun, okay? We have 6 really fun people that we're going to work with next, okay? And I have already said I can never pronounce Eddie's last name properly. He's been with us for about 4 years and done over 200 transactions in a high-end market. Eddie O, please come out onto the stage if you would, please. Eddie, nice to see you. Okay. How do you pronounce it?
Oberoi.
Okay.
O'Brien.
So, Oberoi.
Oberoi.
We have a young guy that we met 3.5 years ago. He's already done 350 transactions with us, Mr. Bill Laidlair. Bill, if you would, please. Nice to see you, Bill. Thank you. Grab a seat next to Eddie, okay, and then we'll applaud loudly for everybody, okay? This guy is such a great agent, and he's so analytical, and he's able to produce at a high level, being as analytical he is. 15 years with us, 1,200 transactions, Mr. George Graham. George, if you would, please. Okay. Good. Take the very end seat. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
One of Sabrina and my favorite people in the world. Okay. 30 years, long time. We've worked together. Over 3,000 transactions from the great state of Utah. Miss Jean Tanner. Jean, if you would, please. Okay. You have a lot of friends.
Thank you.
Sit over down next to George, if you would, okay? Next, again, one of the champions of the industry. I have him on the stage as often as I can talk him into it. 28 years with me, 200 transactions, Mr. Neil Weichel. Neil, if you would, please.
Are you?
Okay. Hello, Neil.
Where do you want me?
Right there, okay?
Thank you.
And then we have truly one of the probably not as recognized superstars and should be getting more recognition than what I probably have offered because she's just such a charming lady. 23 years, 5,000 transactions, Miss Deb Sizek. Deb, if you would, please. Okay. Thank you, Deb. What a treat. Thank you for being here. So if you'll grab that chair. Okay, so I'm going to start right at the end with George. George, first tell them where you live.
I actually live in Burien, which is a little town south of Seattle.
What is the name
15 minutes south.
What is the name of the town?
Burien.
That doesn't sound like a town. It sounds like a disease. Okay.
No, it's a little town, yeah.
How far south of Seattle?
It's about a 15-minute drive to downtown.
So the greater Seattle market is your market.
Yeah, I actually work more the south end of Seattle, but yeah, I can go to sell condos in downtown Seattle, or I can 30 minutes south I can be selling house on acreage. Yeah.
So in your marketplace, which has been, along with Dallas-Fort Worth, probably the strongest market in the nation the last 3 or 4 years, and that's because of the influx of technology companies into greater Seattle. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have moved in to downtown Seattle, Michael, in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's almost hard to believe.
Yeah.
So your inventory shortage is by far the biggest problem, correct?
Correct. Although we just this past June have the first time in 6-7 years where we've actually had a reduction in the median sales price. So for the first time, inventory's up, and prices are starting to change.
Which was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your days on market has been 15 to 20 days for several years.
Yeah.
I mean, if they took a listing, it was almost a guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah.
Good. So 2 ideas that you want to share with us, George, if you would, please.
So I'm going to share both of these because both of these are mistakes that I made when I first started. The first one is that selling real estate is a momentum business.
Okay, let me just stop. Selling real estate is a momentum business. Boy, I hope they write that one down.
Yeah.
Momentum. Go ahead, please.
So for the first 3-4 years of my career working with you, it took me a while to figure out the prospecting and getting into a routine and a schedule. And it was, prospect here and then a couple days gap and then prospect more. And once I got that ironed out, I realized that there's a momentum that takes place when you're doing it every day. And when you're doing that every day and you can get that kind of momentum in your favor, it essentially cures all ills.
Good.
A lot of people on the panels this week have had great things to say, mindset and all the things that are a challenge. But when you're in momentum, everything gets better. It's easier to maintain a better mindset. You become a master of the market. You get to practice your presentation every day or every other day. And it just is something where, I think Tony Smith said it best when he explained the tractor tire example. It's the toughest to get the tire up and rolling, but once you do, it's just a matter of kicking it. Every day, just kick it, and it'll keep rolling.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's a great thought, momentum. Yeah, that's a great thought. Thank you for that. Okay. Number 2.
Point 2, and this was another mistake I made. When I signed up for coaching, I did so not at an event, but I did so over the phone. And for the first few years, my coach would ask me, when you're going to be coming to the events? How come you're not coming to the retreat? And I always felt like I couldn't afford it. I always had excuses for not to come. And it was a real lack of participation. And I know that you've talked about this a lot lately, but and when I had first started coaching, I had a big bump. I went from 35,000 to 125,000 my first year. So it worked for me right away. But I have to tell you, the growth for me really came when I started to participate at a high level in what MFO has to offer. And I would just say that there's one common denominator for everybody that's been on this panel and everybody that sits up front. If you look at the big money earners, they all have an unusually high level of participation.
Good for you. Watch, momentum and participation really are the name of the game.
And they go hand in hand.
Good for you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Absolutely. Wonderful thoughts. Thanks. Okay. Bill, how did we get together? How did we meet, or how did you decide to get involved?
When I was first in the business, I was looking to answer a couple questions. One was, as a younger agent, how can I win listing presentations against more experienced, older agents in the marketplace? And I'd be searching everywhere to find that answer, along with another objection that I always got on the listing presentations, which was, we need to think about it, and we'll call you back in a couple days.
Interesting. Where do you live?
Vancouver, Canada.
Tell them.
Vancouver, Canada.
Okay. Okay.
But I never answered your first question. So where I found you was your YouTube videos. And there was one specific YouTube video that I found. And as soon as I saw, I was living in my parents' basement, and it just like so happy to have finally found the answer. And we got in contact with you and signed up right away.
Good for you. So you're doing a lot of business fast.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, for newer, the two of you guys are newer to us. You've heard everybody say that it takes 3 to 5 years to really get everything going in your favor if you use what we teach. You guys didn't wait. You did it right off the bat. How?
I didn't wait. I did it right off the bat.
Yeah, but well, okay. So next question. Just kidding. Okay. So what created that urgency for you to apply this stuff so quickly?
I have fairly big goals that I want to accomplish in a short period of time.
Okay, that's fair. 2 thoughts. Number 1.
So the first thought is what brought me to the Mike Ferry system, and that was realizing that the Mike Ferry listing presentation is a 3-day presentation that ends in a 20-minute in-person presentation.
That's an interesting thought. Say that again. I want them to hear that again.
The Mike Ferry listing presentation is a 3-day presentation that ends in a 30-minute in-person presentation.
So it's all that preparation for that presentation that makes it good.
Yeah, and especially as a younger agent, I realized that I am not going to win on skills. If I only have the 30-minute, 45-minute listing presentation, I do not have what it takes to beat a top producer. But what I do have is ability to show them that I'm more professional, I'm more organized, I'm more energetic and enthusiastic, and that I will do everything it takes to take care of them service-wise. And that's exactly what the pre-qualifying script does, the pre-listing package does, and calling back and confirming before I go to the appointment.
So, boy, that's a great advice. Thank you. So in essence, it's the preparation and the setup for the end result.
Yes.
Good for you. Number 2.
Number 2 is what has brought me the most success from the time I started, and that is every time I take a listing, I tell our clients, one of the reasons my list to sale price ratio is higher than the average MLS agent is because I go and talk to every single neighbor on the street and ask them, who do they know who wants to move into the area?
So you really do the just listed contacts that we keep talking about.
And the most effective way to do it is the moment you walk out of the house with the listing contract, go to the 10 surrounding doors right away and watch them watch you.
So you'll walk out the door at 3 o'clock on a listing and go knock on the door across the street, the door next door, etc.
And tell them I'm doing everything I can to get this property sold. Who do you know who can help Carrie and Dan?
What a great thought. What a simple thought. Okay? Thank you, Bill. That is great. So you drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's been great.
Because both of the things you said are what we've been talking about for 43 years.
Every day.
Yeah, good for you. That's great.
Thank you.
So Gene, you're probably one of our longest term, you and Joan, who's out here, longest term customers. So you've been in real estate how long?
36 years.
36? So you started when you were 7.
Right.
Okay. 36 years, and 30 years with us, 3,000 transactions.
I first saw you, Mike, at a Utah State convention. The room was packed, and I was in the back, and all the people were saying, he's full of crap.
Things haven't changed, isn't that right?
And Joan Pate was in that room, and she said, no, he's not. And she said, you've got to go to one of the superstar retreats. I think I came to the 3rd one, and I've been ever since.
Good for you.
Every year.
Thank you. Thanks for that support. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's worked well for both of us.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
It's great.
Because we've had a lot of enjoyable times together, which we appreciate a lot. So, Gene, how do you keep the mindset strong to do this for 35, 36 years?
There's so many things you could say when you come up here, but I think the thing that keeps resonating with me the most is I grew up pretty poor. And my parents didn't tell me they kept telling me I was middle class too. But my dad had an expression that poor people, poor ways. And I kept thinking I was a poor person and I could never dream big. And I came to the first event and thought, I could do this. But I realized it is hard to change. And so what I wrote down is that everything begins with a small habit change. And I've learned that big success comes from implementing one habit at a time and just working on it, always making tiny choices. Great coaches, Melanie Hunt taught me that we make a new decision in our lives every 15 seconds. And so I constantly say to myself, evaluate and make a better choice.
Hello, good thought. Boy, that is a great thought. Thank you. Okay. So what you're really saying is that those little decisions that you started making in the beginning, you didn't try to make the big monumental ones. You weren't trying to change the face of real estate in Utah. You were trying to change how you worked each day.
Right. Just what I say, just trying to be better every single day. But I think the key is just to be conscious of trying to be better all the time.
So virtually every day you can say to yourself, I did something better today than yesterday.
Right.
Now, what's your average sales price today?
600.
I'm sorry?
600,000.
And when we met, it was probably 6,000. 85,000. What a change. Good for you.
When I met Mike Ferry, we were in a recession, and there were 1,300 realtors on my board, and I did not know it was a bad year. And it went from 1,300 realtors to 300 realtors, and I sold 50 homes my first year.
Good for you. That is outstanding. Okay.
Thank you.
That guy makes the big bucks because he gets things fixed. So thank you. Okay. Appreciate it. All right. So you went from poverty to 50 pretty fast.
I thought that was pretty great.
Whoa, it's outstanding. Okay. Bill, you're the fix-it man now. Okay. Bill hit Gene. Gene, Bill told me I'm trying to find a way to get close to Gene.
Oh, good.
He just figured it out. Okay.
I'm single. You know, because I was poor too, I think I thought I was dumb as well. And my brother Wayne was a brilliant photographic memory, and I always had to work my guts out for everything. And I heard Mike say on stage once that he was a grinder, but I thought, I can do that. I can be a grinder. And I've learned that I can do the work in 1 hour that takes most agents 3 to 4 hours to do. I'm relentless about timing my CMAs. I can do a CMA in 7 minutes and a really hard one in 10. And so I've timed myself to do that.
What great advice.
But also in that same conversation, Mike also said that he could outwork and outthink anyone. And I say that to myself every day. I outwork and outthink all my competition.
Well, I tell you, that is outstanding. So I want you to know you're a good role model for a lot of us.
Thank you.
For length of time, for attitude, production. I mean, so thank you 1,000 times over. Eddie. Okay, Eddie.
Yes.
Follow that one if you may. Tell them where you work.
I am in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley.
Tell them.
I'm from San Jose, California, Silicon Valley.
Okay, were you born and raised in San Jose?
No, I was born in India.
You were born in India?
Yeah.
And how long have you been in the United States?
I came when I was 16. I came here when I was 16 years old.
Good, because you have no accent at all. Okay? I mean, I can't hear any, of course I can't hear either, so I don't know. Good for you. Now that San Jose market has been like Georgia's market, one of the more competitive
Yes,
and one of the faster paced markets in the country.
absolutely.
Okay, so what's your average sales price?
It's right now it's about 1.1 million.
1.1 million. Look at Gene. Gene, that's a neighborhood where you are. Okay. Gene did a subdivision, 23 homes, 1.1 million. Okay. So what is your average commission check?
Right now it's about 25,000.
25,000.
Yeah.
My first probably 100 commission checks were about $285 to $300 per house. Can I think about, how exciting for a young guy like yourself. I mean, good for you. That's great.
Thanks to you.
So what are you, now you've been with us, what, 4 years?
4 years. Yep.
And what caused you to be attracted to what we do?
Well, I've always been the kind of guy who appreciates tough love. I'm like, that's the guy.
Okay. Thank you, son.
Thank you.
Wow, good for you. So you're making a lot of money.
Yeah, thanks to you.
What will you earn this year?
The goal is to go close to 2 million.
Close to 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, how old are you?
43.
You're 43, you look
Yeah.
a lot younger. Good for you. Married or single?
I'm sorry, I'm married.
Married, okay, because there's many girls who are right now saying, $2 million, have I got a program for you? All right, okay. So 2 great thoughts for us. Thought
Well,
number 1.
Yeah, first of all, I think they've heard them all, but I'm going to dig deep. Number 1 is upgrade everything about yourself, starting with your attitude. And what I mean by that is we all have big goals. We want to make $1, $2, $3, $5 million. But it's not about the money you need to make, it's about the person you need to become to make that kind of money.
Say that again. Let them applaud first, okay?
So it's not about your goals, it's not about the money you want to make, it's about the person you need to become to make that kind of money.
So it's not only about the money, it's the person you become to make that kind of money.
To make that kind of money.
Now we can give that a great round of applause. That is just a great thought. Good for you.
So I've done that. By first year when I came, I just kind of observed, and I've gone out of my way to reach out to Hal Swayze, Dominic Nicoles, and Neil, and I'm like, I want to be like these guys. And like you say, it takes about 6 to 7 closes to get them to, role play with you. And I've done that. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep on asking Neil and keep on asking Hal and keep on asking other guys because I do want to, hang out with them. I want to role play with them. I want to be like them. So when I say upgrade everything from the way you dress up, your smile. I spend about $6,000 a month on personal development.
Wow, good
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
That is outstanding.
So it's just upgrading everything.
Upgrade everything.
Yep.
So what's number 2?
Number 2 would be working on your mindset by having a good evening and morning routine.
A good evening and morning routine. Well, I like that approach. Tell us about that.
So evening routine, before you go to sleep, think about your day and write down the top 7 things you have to do. That came from Gino Blafari, by the way. He was the CEO, of Intero. So top 7 things you are going to do next day, and also write down your goals real quick. It takes me about 2-3 minutes, and I think about it, and then I go to sleep, and I'm sleeping while thinking about those things.
When I get great.
When I get up in the morning at 3:45, it's the first thing I do is smile, and I do a few things which are meditation, affirmation, reading, visualize, exercise, and journal. And
So say that again. There's several things you do first thing in the morning.
So wake up with a smile and a gratitude. Just no matter what's happening.
You ever heard me tell that story about what I think every married man should do first thing in the morning? I mean, how many are married? If you want to make your life better as a married man, first thing in the morning, you look over and you just say, I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right.
Because there's a good chance you've screwed up.
Yep.
And they don't forget. And then say, I love you.
That's right.
But never put them too close together. Half of them are going, I don't get it. Okay? So you smile first thing in the morning?
Yeah, the first thing in the morning when you get up, no matter what kind of day you had, get up with a smile and gratitude. And a few things that I do is meditate.
You do meditation?
I do meditation.
Medication or meditation?
Meditation.
Okay, meditation. Okay.
Affirmations.
Affirmations.
Read something good, visualize, exercise, and journal.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That is great.
And that gets your mindset going. And
I'm looking forward to when you're making 5 million, 7 million, 10 million a year.
thank you.
Okay, and I know you can do it.
With your
Let's give
help.
them a nice round of applause. Okay.
Thank you.
Miss Debbie, we've been working together a long time, and you are a legend in the industry. No, you are.
I'm old.
You're not old. You're mature.
Mature.
Yeah, you and I are not old. Somebody told me I was old-fashioned. I said I'm old, but my production is fashionable.
You go.
That's you and I. So we're fashionable. So how did we meet originally?
We met at a seminar in Chicago, and I remember running to the back of the room at the end of that seminar because I could not wait to sign up. But then he sent me, I signed up, and then he sent this packet. That was back when we had to fill out all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3 pages that we had to fill out. Anybody who knows me knows that's not me.
That's not
so
you.
I threw that stuff in the trash. And I didn't see Mike again till Berkshire Hathaway, a Prudential
Yes.
event, and then he didn't make us fill out those papers, so I was able to join.
Which is
It was
fun.
good.
But you were really a leader in the. She's from Omaha, Nebraska, and we have so many
Thank
great
you.
people from that market today, and a lot of the people that are great customers are because of your exposure, your leadership, and what you've done.
Well, that's because they saw me and said, if a ditz like that can do it, I want to find out how. I can certainly do that, and that's why they're here.
So, you have a wonderful husband
I do.
who's been very successful,
He has.
and you never really had to work, like some of people. Like I had to work. I had 5 kids. You were blessed with a beautiful family and a wonderful husband.
I didn't have to work to put food on my table, but I had to work for me.
So,
To make
tell
me a
them what
better
that
person.
means.
As a mom and a human being, I felt like I had to contribute. And yes, it's important to contribute to the life of your children and your family. That's very important. But I felt like I needed more. I needed something for me, something that made me feel like I was a productive citizen.
Which you obviously proved that you could do. So
Thank you.
probably 15 years ago, I get a phone call from Deb. Well, I think actually I called you and I said, something is a little awry. You're doing this many deals and making this much money. Is your average sales price now $12 per house? Because it didn't add up. And we look at that kind of stuff, especially with successful people. And I said, what's your average commission? And she told me, I said, that doesn't make sense because your average sales price is here. And you shared with me something which I'll never forget. She said, well, Mike, often I'll be listing a home for sale and I'll see the circumstances of that family and what they're going through. And I just virtually just cut the commission way back because I'm trying to help them have a better life, which was really a wonderful behavior pattern. And you remember what I asked you to do? I said, okay, how many listing
I do.
presentations this week? She said she had like 3. I said, just this week, Deb, do not give any of the commission away because you're doing this obviously for yourself and your family. And boy, that changed your income from several hundred thousand to several million, just like that, didn't it?
It did.
I mean, it was such a wonderful thing.
Kind of the 12-step program for commission cutters. Start one day at a time. That's what we did.
A 12-step program for commissions. I love that. Well, first of all, we are honored to always have you as a client, so thank you for that. Okay. So what is thought number 1 you want to share?
Okay, thought number 1, and this is very, very important. I want all of you to go out there and learn this system forwards, backwards, upside down, every way you can, so it becomes part of you, part of your very being, and not just to grow your business, because that's a wonderful side effect, but to get you through real difficult tough times, to get you through life. I know there are probably a lot of you out there right now that you aren't even hearing what we're saying up here because you're concerned about financial issues, you're concerned about a recent health diagnosis, you're concerned about a family member. You can't even focus or think on this. I know a lot of you probably think, I can't even relate to those people up there because they're all making tons of money. They don't have any financial problems. They don't have anything other than a happy, great life. Well, I'm here to tell you, I didn't know everybody that was up here 100%, but I probably knew about 95% of them. And I'll say almost without exception, they have gone through things that are so incredibly difficult, things that you wouldn't wish on your very worst enemy. And some of them are going through it right now while they are sitting up here on this stage with big, huge smiles on their faces. And I've recently realized how they're doing that. They did it because they had to compartmentalize parts of their life when they were going through these tough times. They had to have the business just flow. It had to be autopilot for them. That was the only way they could possibly get through this. But they did it, and they're doing it right now. I had dinner with Neil Weichel the other night, and we were all talking with him about how successful he was, and I bet you never have a down day, and how do you do this? And he said, oh, I have down days. But he said, this whole system has become so a part of what I do that even on the days when I'm down, when I'm only 70, 85%, I'm just that much better than my competition. I don't have to be a ton better, but I have to be that much better. When you learn this system, when it's just who you are, when those stressful days come, when you're at 20 on a scale of 1 to 10 with anxiety, you go on autopilot and you get through. And I'm not here to say, oh my gosh, he's the healer. And I'm not here, although sometimes he kind of is. I'm not here to tell you that if you just learn all your scripts, you won't have any problems. That's not life. But I will tell you, when you're out in those rough seas, and we'll all be there someday, you need some kind of a life raft. You need some kind of a life preserver, even for just a little while until those seas calm. And I'll tell you, this did it for me. So thank you. Oh, sit down. Sit down. I'm going to cry.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to share with you guys and gals something. At the break, we were behind the stage, and Deb took me aside and said, do you mind if I just change those couple points and just say something? And I said, Deb, whatever you want to say, I'm going to support it 100% because I support her 100%. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, big shot, follow that one. But I have to say, I know what your family's been through.
Yeah.
I know what your family's been through. And the fact that they are all up here, because I know what they've been through. And I know, Deb, what you and your family has experienced. And of course, I really know what you've experienced because we've spent so much time together because we're close in terms of where we live. Every single thing you said was absolutely 100% right. Because we all have those days, weeks, months, years. But if we don't have something to fall back on, which is our self-confidence and our self-image and our ability to go out and be productive, what's the point? So again, thank you. Okay?
Thank you.
That is great. So go ahead, Neil. Thanks for being here.
Oh, man.
So
I
first-
really wish I knew she was going to say that. It would have made these points change for about the 12th time this week.
So first, tell them where you live.
So I live in Valencia, California. It's a beautiful suburb of, thank you, Valencia, northern Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I've been blessed to work in that community for 28 years and to work with you for 28 years.
So you virtually got into real estate and joined us almost simultaneously.
Yep, my very first, somebody asked me this morning, how many of these have you been to? And I said, my very first real estate event was a Superstar Retreat, and this would make 28 in a row.
Yeah, 28 in a row, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Never missed one.
Yeah. 4,200 deals. Deb's done 5,000, so you still have some work to do, okay? Because I don't think she's going to stop just because you're getting close.
No, she won't.
4,200 deals is a lot of deals.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And you've had, in the opinion of all of us, nothing but huge success because of your knowledge of the market, the knowledge of selling, the knowledge of our material. I mean, the guy is a wealth of information, okay? We just had so much fun. We were in Europe together, in Italy together a few months ago, and then we were in London together, which was really a fun time for Sabrina and I to be with you guys.
Thank you.
And we learned a lot in casual conversation, but what are the two thoughts that you want to share specifically for them?
I have to take a deep breath because what I wrote down, you know, this meeting today is about taking more listings. Mike was very, very clear about what the purpose of our 4 days together was. So because we're last, I've changed what I wrote down a couple of times because I really wanted it to be of value, and I also wanted it to be somewhat reflective of my experience with working with you. So the first thing I wrote down, I have no idea why this popped into my head. I must be turning into you. This quote popped into my head. It's one of my favorite affirmations. I haven't thought about it in a long time, but I'd like you to write it down. Do what you fear, and the death of fear is certain.
Okay, well, hold it. You got to say that again.
Do what you fear, and the death of fear is certain.
So the fastest way to remove the fear is to do what you fear.
The reason why it just popped into my head is because my point is this. This is day 4, and we're all kind of in between mentally all this incredible information we've been given and what we know we have to do when we go back to work. And for me, that's tomorrow morning. And so what I wrote down is you have to do something. You have to do something. And you have to do the right thing. So the point is simply this. You simply have to burn the bridge. You have to eliminate the options in your life. And the challenge that we have today, Mike, I was thinking about this watching everybody staring at their cell phones. You know, the cell phones are terrific technology. They allow us to communicate with our prospects no matter where we are. We can use all this incredible stuff. But here's the problem. You know, you said the other day I'm a little old-fashioned. I think we need a little more old-fashioned in our lives.
We need to be more old-fashioned. Yeah. I would agree.
I'm watching people in a group, they're all staring at a phone. Nobody's talking to anybody anymore. It's families. You know, it's a real issue. And what I want to share with you is simply this. If you will create accountabilities in your life, if you will create little things, it's fascinating how some of our points come together. You will put yourself in a position where you don't have distractions. You don't have options. After the production retreat, I always write down 3 things I'm going to do. Put your phone away. So when I go into my office, I put it in my desk. I can't even see it until 10:30. It's been the smartest thing I've done in years because there's no distractions. If you text me, I'm not going to see it. I'm going to be on the phone doing my job. So here's what I wrote down. Eliminate the options and the distractions in your life, and only you know what those are. I don't know what they are, but I suspect a lot of them are pretty common. The most important thing to commit to in your morning schedule is that first call of the day, because as George was talking about, once you start, you're in rhythm, and rhythm is everything in real estate. Call somebody that you're going to start having an exercise plan with. Talk to whoever you eat with about a diet plan. Create all these accountabilities. One of the fascinating things about this group in the front is most of them did not come from very much. You've heard them all week long. I was broke. I declared bankruptcy. I had no money. I grew up in a very modest environment. You grew up in a very modest environment. I grew up in a very modest.
Just under modest.
Yeah, right?
You're just ma.
And the only reason you're here today leading us to great things is because you burned all your bridges, right? Mike's told us story after story about the accountabilities he created, the masterminds he created, all these things that allowed him. Guys, here's the point. You have to do it, and you have to do it here. And the reason you have to do it here is because as soon as you get home, bam, 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 the distractions start hitting you. The issues, what Deb was just talking about, real life. Do it here, okay? Now, I can't believe I wrote this down for the second thing, but I'm going to attempt this because I'm really, honestly, what you said, I started to tear up. How many people read Selling Magazine?
How many read what?
Selling Magazine, your magazine.
Oh, yeah.
How many people read that? I really love that magazine. I'm going to read something that Mike wrote, and then I'm going to ask him to do a quick thing with me. The most important coaching tip I could ever give you is that no matter who you choose to follow as a trainer and a coach, I recommend Mike, as long as you learn what to say and what to do, your confidence will increase dramatically, your activities will increase, and your production will follow. Here's the big problem that a lot of people are having right now, is they're afraid. And that's why you have to do what you fear, and the death of fear is certain. So what I asked Mike if he would do with me this morning is to do a quick objection handler. It's the #1 objection that I get, and I think that if you really study the answers to objections, this one area here, your listings will go up. So Mike, tell me you want to think it over.
All right, Neil, we really like what you've told us tonight. Sabina and I are very impressed. I mean, your
great.
track record in town is one of the best, but you know, I think for she and I, we're going to need a day or so to think this thing through and make a decision.
You know, Mike, I really appreciate that, because getting to San Diego is very important to your family, isn't it?
Absolutely, we have to be in San Diego.
Okay, and I really want to help you with that process, and I'm excited about helping you with that process. So just so that my notes are complete and I can do a great job for you, would you mind if I just reviewed the things you might want to think over? Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, great, Mike, thank you. So sometimes when people say to me they want to think something over, the first thing they want to think about, especially after looking at all the information, is if they even want to sell the home. Now, you told me you're definitely going to San Diego, right?
Oh, no, we have to sell the home, absolutely.
Okay, so you don't want to think over that, right?
No, that's
okay.
done.
All right, let me just make a note. That's great. The second thing, sometimes, Mike, is the price that we set on your home. Now, I know we talked a lot about this just now, but it seems like you're pretty settled on the $650. Is that okay? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, you know, we wanted more, but we understand what you're saying. So yeah, we hesitantly accept $650.
All right, so if we were to work together, you'd feel comfortable with me going and telling everybody about your home at $650. You'd be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Great, so we don't need to think about that. The third thing then, Mike, and you know, sometimes this happens, is, well, you may want to think about the agent you're going to have representing you in this process to get you to San Diego, right?
Correct.
Is that kind of what you want to think about?
No, we know you're the right agent. We're very clear on that. And your
Great.
track record is why you're here.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So based on the fact that you want to be in San Diego in under 60 days, and based on the fact that we don't really need to think about the price, and based on the fact that it sounds like you think I can sell your home.
Do you know what he's doing here? We should be applauding right now. Okay?
Not yet.
That is really good.
Not yet. Almost there. Almost. So based on all that, Mike, let me just ask you an honest question. Do you feel I can sell your home and get you to San Diego?
Absolutely.
Why don't we just get started then?
I got to start writing. Good for you.
It's over.
You know, I used to teach that 40 some years ago, and I haven't taught that particular technique in a long time, but it is such a logical, defined, straightforward, honest approach, so thank you.
Thank you. You taught it to me.
Thank you very much, okay? So, you know, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is the balance of the logic and emotion in the work we do. And, you know, we've had some great logic from yourself, Bill, very logical. Eddie, George, I don't know if you can be emotional, okay? You're so logical, and I want to thank Gene and Deb and Neil and each of you for really giving us great information today. So please,
Thank you.
you guys know the game, okay? Big applause, okay? Huge applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, sweetie. Thank you a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Emotions. Okay. Well, we probably should go to lunch, but we can't because they don't have it ready yet. Okay. So after that presentation, I feel sorry for the 5 of them after lunch, let me tell you. So thank you for being so positive. Thank you for being so responsive. And I know it means a lot to them, but it means a lot to us to have that information given to us. So that was pretty strong. So I want to go to another skill that we have to think about. And the third skill that I want to spend some time on is one that isn't talked about a lot. And that is the skill of getting listings out of that database. The skill of getting listings out of the database. You know, everybody talks about the fact you have to have a database, past client centers of influence. We all work to grab and accumulate a big database. You have a good one, Bernie. Obviously, Hal, you have a great database. Most of you have done a great job. So here's what I want you to write down. If you don't know them on a first name basis, they should not be in your database. Because often we stuff names into our database that shouldn't be in our database. If they don't know you on a first name basis, they probably should not be in your database. Can you two join me for lunch? Would you mind? Okay. So watch this. Common thing is you're prospecting, having conversations. You meet somebody, you meet Sue, and you kind of feel an immediate relationship rapport, whether it be on the phone or at the door, and you get their name and number, and then you go back and put it in your database. No, a database is past clients and people that you know on a first name basis, or people, that you give money to or you get good service from all the time that you see regularly, okay? So I put Sue in my database. I met her in March and now it's July, August, and I'm going through my database and I get to the S's and I see the name Sue and I'm going, God, who is that lady? Sue, where did I meet her? Gosh darn it. So I call her. Hi, Sue, it's Mike Ferry. And you get that blank emotional response. Yes or no? Yes. All right. The reason you get that blank emotional response is because that person doesn't have any point of reference to you. So what I want you to write down is the key to a database is the point of reference. That is the key to a database, the point of reference. Where did that point of reference originate? Where did it come from? What is that point of reference that we refer to? So then I remember, I think Sue was a for sale by owner, or was she an expired, or was it and all of a sudden I have no point of reference. So when I got into real estate, I was very lucky. A guy named John Whalen, he's a very, very active millionaire in Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, was an agent competing against us. And this guy was top of the line. And I remember saying to John, he had some really interesting habits. I'll give you an example. He loved listing property, but he loved selling his own listings. So he would do something like this. Now this is so strange. He would take a station wagon on Saturday. A station wagon, the old-fashioned station wagon. And he would have 3 buyers that he wanted to show property to. He would ask all 3 buyers to meet him at 9 o'clock in the morning. He'd introduce them to each other. He'd say, all of you are looking for the same type of home. What I thought we would do is we'll go together and decide what we should buy. And he would take 3 buyers out of one time fill, put them in the car. And then he would drive them to home number 1 and say, now which of the 3 is most comfortable with this house? And the first couple would say, well, we really like it a lot. And he would say to the other 2 couples, do you think they should buy it? Oh yeah, we think you should buy it. I mean, this guy was so good. I mean, he would sell 3 homes in one day doing stuff like that. But he's the guy that taught me to take a shoebox and 3x5 cards and start building the database. So when I started in real estate 100 years ago, I started building the database immediately. So first thing I did is put all the neighbors, all the friends, all the relatives, name, address, phone number, because you didn't have cell phones and emails in those days. Then I started taking, you know, I had 4 little children, their friends, families who they grew up with, you know, people we met through the church, through the schools. Pretty soon I had a couple hundred names. Then I started calling them all the time. And then next thing you know, they're responding and giving me leads. So then, of course, I started adding some of the clients that I was now listing and selling. So 2 years later, when I was making the transition to this business I'm involved in today, one of the guys in the office said, hey, what are you going to do with your shoebox? I said, what do you mean? Well, I know you're going to start this speaking career. What are you going to do with the shoebox? I said, well, I think I'll sell it to you. There were 800 names. And I sold it to him. Now, this is early 70s. I sold it to him for $5,000. And then I took a 20% referral fee for the first 2 years. That guy now has been in real estate for 40 some years. That shoebox with 800 names is now like 7,500 names, okay? The absolute gold mine in your life is your database. And it's an untapped gold mine, and it goes forever. It never goes away. So if I look at my friends Sue and Sue, what percentage of you guys' business now is past client centers of influence? Approximate? 60%. Okay, now these 2 ladies are really legends in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay, I mean, they've been doing this really well for a long time. 60%. Now think about how much less stress they have compared to maybe you that is trying to get 20% out of your database and 80% you have to create. Because that which does not come from your database has to be created. So let's say that Lenny says, my goal is to do 50 deals this year, and 20% or 10 come out of my database. That means he has to create 40. So the hard part about goal setting is understanding which is more likely to come to you and which do I have to create. So in Lenny's case, he has to create 40 transactions. That's a lot of conversations. But if Sue and Sue only if they're going to do 100 deals and 60+% come out of the database, they don't have to do as much of that intense prospecting to get to the same position. If you want to lower the level of rejection, raise the level of interaction with your database. It is the answer to your problems of listing property. So Neil, if we think about it, is if all of our great agents want to lower their levels of rejection, and I want to help you with that, then all I want you to do is raise your interaction with your database. Because every time I talk to a database, it's a better call than talking to anybody else. Now, then we have people like Hal and Bernie and so many of you that are really unbelievably great agents. You love the challenge of going beyond the database to build that huge business you have. All right, I wrote down another thought for you. When you call the database, make sure you have a purpose. When you call the database, make sure you have a purpose. I'm just not calling because, okay? Something is going on in the market, something's going on in the industry, something's going on in the area that could be of interest to them. And folks, here's what you have to establish. You are the real estate expert for those people in your database. You're the source of information, okay? You're where all the good stuff comes from them knowing anything about real estate. So before I start calling 5 or 6 people in my database, okay, what do they need to know? Do they understand the market is changing? So I could call my database. Hi, Ibrahim, it's Mike Ferry. Wanted to say hello. How you doing, first of all? He goes, fine. Ibrahim, I just wanted to share with you, you might want to be aware of this because I know you know people that are selling their homes, that the days on market, by the way, Ibrahim, do you know what I mean when I say days on market? No, Mike, what does that mean? Well, the days on market is how we measure how fast things sell. So I want you to think about the fact that if you were to sell today, the days it would take to get it sold is longer than it was 6 months ago. Isn't that interesting, Ibrahim? It takes more time today. By the way, are you guys considering selling your home, Ibrahim? He says no. Well, think about that, because if you ever decide to sell, the days on market is extending. Now I make a call to somebody that is a past client, center of influence, make it with a little bit of interest. I whet their appetite a little bit about what goes on in real estate. There's 1,000 topics you can talk about to your database if you're willing to talk to them about those defined purposes, okay? But then I wrote down next, and now we've only said this about 55 times in the first 3 days, these calls have to be high energy, high enthusiasm. The database is the one time you have to shine. And the reason for that is, I know you do not believe this, but other people in real estate know the people in your database. I know that's hard to believe. Because some of you actually believe that nobody knows anybody that's in your database. Everybody in your database knows a lot of people, yes or no? Yes. And these people could be in real estate, okay? So watch, the fastest way to separate yourself is the energy and enthusiasm that you display. We've talked about it, so we can let that go. But now watch the next thing I want you to write down, okay? They're not sitting in their home or office waiting for you to call. I know, Kristen, that's hard to believe, okay? Here you are, a top agent, and you're calling your database, and they're not answering on the first ring, and they're busy with something else, and they say, can I call you back? See, a lot of us say, well, are you kidding? This person's been a client for years. I can't believe they're not excited when I call. They have a life. They have things to do. So on the database, you're almost always going to be interrupting something going on in their life at that moment, which is why the high energy and enthusiasm. But see, with your database, you can never, ever, ever be disappointed when they don't respond as quickly as you want. Because remember, in today's society, with all the mechanics we have to communicate without talking, we look for all the ways to communicate without talking. So you call a database person, somebody that's really a strong referral source, and your phone number comes up on their phone, and they're, oh, Bill's calling. Let it go for now, honey. And we all do that, yes or no? Yes. Come on, say it. Yes. Watch, my poor sales team, I mean, so many of you are our best customers, and my sales team will call you 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times in 3 weeks, and you won't answer the phone because it says MFO, okay? I'll send a lot of you 3, 4, 5 emails, and you never even open them because you get so many. Say yes. Yes. All right, let's go back to what we said yesterday. Our ability to give the highest quality service and being a responsible employer is answering the phone and answering emails. So what we have to do is we have to think about the fact they're not waiting for the phone call. Then the last point I wrote down on your database, identify the top 10%. Identify the top 10%. Everybody here has any place from 50 to 100 to 300 to 3,000 or 5,000 names in the database. Put a check mark next to the top 10% that will pretty much guarantee to give you a referral or a transaction every year. Hell, that's most of your business, isn't it? Yeah, what percentage of your business really is out of your database? 60%. It's phenomenal, okay? Deb, I'll bet it's probably 80% of yours today. And I know Lucy, when we were talking to her a couple days ago, it's probably 90%. Folks, listen to me. 10% of your people love to help you become more successful. So you identify them. And remember the example I gave you of the gal in Atlanta, Sandy, a couple days ago. We identified the 10% out of her 800, which was 80. She called them every month and talked to them instead of 3 times a year, and her business doubled, and she sold the business for $1 million. A real estate sales business, Bernie. And that was 20 years ago when $1 million was a lot of money. So think about who are that 10% and how do you want to be of service and of value to them, okay? So close your notebooks if you would. Close your notebooks. There's 2 things that we are doing that we have not done in the past. In January, and I brought this up briefly yesterday, in January, primarily for those people that are newer to Mike Ferry or dabbling in the Mike Ferry sales system, and you've heard Deb say it so well, until you embrace what we teach at the highest level, until when you cut yourself, it comes out the scripts we teach, okay? I mean, until you're at that point, it's hard to really get that business going the way you want. So that's why we have seminars and workshops and retreats, and we have our prospecting clinics at the office. And, you know, gosh, we have hundreds of reports online and 1,000 YouTube videos, and we have the coaching programs. And these brokers are trying their hardest to support and train you. We started the Agent Production Training Program, which you have a flyer on, designed to take you once a week for 6 months and train you how to sell real estate. Training, training, training. And there is probably 100 of you in this room that need more training on what to say and what to do within the Mike Ferry sales system, yes or no? Yes. Go back and get involved in our training. Okay? It's the least expensive thing we can offer anybody to be in real estate. Now they just put something up. Okay, watch this. Instant Replay 30. Instant Replay 30, flyer on your chair. You can watch the entire Superstar Retreat exactly as we have done it in Instant Replay in the month of August. And you can watch it 1 time, 10 times, you can watch it every day, all day long. And we're going to offer this because it's something new we're trying to do. We're going to offer it to all the attendees basically at our cost. So if anybody likes this retreat and it likes the experience and wants to live it again, go back and sign up for what we call the IR30, Instant Replay 30 for the month of August, okay? Go back and get involved. Jeff Leslie, okay? Brianne Llewellyn, Linda Mandro, Brian Ogletree, Greg Taylor, and Melanie Hunt. I need the 6 of you to meet Anna right here when we break for lunch in a few minutes. Okay, so I need the 6 of you. One other thought. When I started the work I do 30 years ago, and I've mentioned this to you time and time again, I was lucky to have 2 people, which are Gunther Kloss and Mike Vance. There was no such thing as coaching then. What I did is I created a consulting arrangement, Michael, with these 2 men. And here we are in 1970, I'm paying out $4,000 a month to these 2 men to teach me how to do my job, okay? I didn't have an education. As I said, I barely made it out of high school. I was able to get out of college fast because I flunked out, okay? That's a quick exit, and that was my first year in college. But I recognized because I saw a man named Charles Simmons, and this happened when I was 19 years old. I saw an ad in the local newspaper in Orange County, California, and it was a full-page ad. And if you can picture the ad, if you can picture standing behind me and seeing all of you with my image on the stage. So the picture was from behind Charles, looking out at several thousand people. And it said, Disneyland Hotel tonight from 7 to 9, free seminar on making a fortune and living your life better. Well, I'm 19 and I am going nowhere. You know, I'm a street sweeper at Disneyland. I'm working at Alpha Beta boxing groceries. I have no income. My parents pretty much threw me out because I flunked out of college. Wow, a motivational speaker. What the heck is that? So I get there at 6 o'clock and there's 2,000 people hell in the room. 2,000. I mean, I'm going, and I was probably a grandson to 90% of the audience in terms of age. And this guy comes out, Charles Simmons, a little guy, maybe 5'7", the shocking big white hair, the big white mustache. He looked like Einstein. You know, he just, bah! And he came out, and I mean, for 2 hours, I was sitting where you are, Lenny, and I was in shock listening to this. I mean, I was just like, oh my God. And towards the end, he said, now what I want to do is this. I'm going to take 100 of you, and for the next 13 weeks on Tuesday night in this hotel, I'm going to take you and teach you how to live the life you've always dreamed about. So go back and sign up. So I jumped right up and ran all the way down the back of the room and signed up. And nobody else was running, so I didn't have a lot of worry about knocking people down. Because he hadn't told the price yet. So by the time I got 3/4 of the back, he said, it's only $2,000 for these 13 weeks of 2 hours. So I was running real fast, and all of a sudden I wasn't running as fast. I didn't have $2,000. So I said to the lady, I want to sign up. And she goes, how do you want to pay? I said, well, I don't have any money yet, but I'll get some and I'll pay you. She goes, how old are you? I think I was 19, maybe just turning 20. I said, I'm 20. She goes, son, you don't have any money. I said, I know, but I want to sign up so I can make money. Son, it doesn't work that way. You have to sign a contract. You have to pay us $2,000. I don't have $2,000. She goes, fill out the contract. If you can find a way to get it, we'll let you into the class. So the next day, I go to the Bank of America, where I had my savings account with $29.49. And, you know, I put on a suit and tie, and I walked into the bank, and I asked for the bank manager, and I said to the bank manager, I went to a motivation seminar, and I'm really excited, and it's $2,000, and I need you to lend it to me so I can go out and become a successful person. You know, no, bank manager, 50 years ago. The hell are you thinking about, kid? He said, do you have a job? I work at Disneyland, I'm a street sweeper, and then I work at Alpha Beta on Brookhurst and Ball. What kind of money do you make? Oh, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks a week. And you want me to give you $2,000? Yeah, I'll pay you back, I promise. And I don't know why this guy said, I'll take a chance. And he did. And he gave me $2,000, okay, which he did. And it honestly took me about 5 years to pay it back, okay? He said, I'll give it to you for 2 years. I said, okay. And then about 18 months later, things aren't going well. Well, I took that class, and the first class, the first night, he pointed to me and about 10 people, because I was by far 20 years younger than the next youngest person. He said, all right, I want you to stand up and walk up here. So I did. Now, there were 10 of us. He walked up. And he had a basket, and he said, reach in and take something out of the basket. I took it out. We all did. Now read what yours said. Mine said, pretend like you're drunk and try to talk to the group. He said, okay, go ahead. I said, go ahead and what? He said, pretend like you're drunk and talk to the group. Well, this was easy because my parents were alcoholics. I could role play this one real easy. So I pretended like I was drunk, and he goes, good job. He said, a big part of life is acting in a manner that makes you uncomfortable, yes or no? Yes. A listing presentation can make some of you uncomfortable, yes or no? Yes. So I spent 13 weeks with Charles Simmons. Then I introduced him to Earl Nightingale, who I had met, and they became best of friends. And everything just kind of flowed from that point on. For some of you, today, I'm your Charles Simmons. For some of you, today, I may be your Earl Nightingale, which, believe me, I am not Earl Nightingale and Charles Simmons. These guys were bright. However, I'm not going to ask